The general idea right now is grow a garden, grow as much of your own food as you can, buy as much food as you can. Did you want a date?
Date.
Okay, what do you say?
Thank
No, not thank you. What do you say?
you.
Please, okay.
Mama.
Okay, just one.
One.
Just one.
One.
One. 1.5. That's okay. Can you say good morning?
Mama.
Beautiful
Where is it?
people.
Poopy.
Okay, good job. Good morning, beautiful people. As my lovely assistant has already told you, it's actually like noon. It's not morning, but close enough. All right, Ben is not filming today because Ben is in the barn working on a special project. It's not like secret, it's just special. It's for a friend, and he's doing a bunch of machining work that takes a lot of brain power, so he's like, I'm not filming today, I'm just working on this. Totally fine. I have a bunch of kitchen work today, like most days. I'm still slicing bacon. It's been a thing. I just slice a little bit here and there until it gets warm, and then I have to put it back in the fridge, and then I forget about it for like a day or two, or I get busy, and then I go back to slicing bacon. What are you spitting for?
Dirt.
Oh, you had dirt? Okay. Just fed my sourdough starter so that I can make up more bread tonight. I probably should make cheese today to deal with milk, but I'm not going to because I don't have time. So we will do some other stuff. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm going to do this bacon. I won't make you watch very much of it, just maybe a little blip. It's like, what's the third day of bacon slicing, so I'm not going to subject you to that again. Leftovers for lunch, spaghetti from last night, chicken casserole thing, quiche, a few bites of, what is that? Loaded french fries. Nothing crazy. Bacon is almost done being sliced. This slab is still frozen solid, so I have to wait on that. Again, with the waiting and the bacon just continually being in my kitchen. It's fine. We'll make do. Here are the random trimmings and stuff. I talked about this a little while ago. I'm gonna save these and render these separately for like, I mean, it's bacon grease. And I'm not gonna waste these. So these will get rendered and that will go to our cooking lard. I've replaced pretty much all of my oil and butter that I used to use for cooking with bacon grease. It's cheaper, it's easier. I'm not using more expensive resources for cooking and frying and stuff like that. We're just using bacon grease and lard, and that is a very economical way to be cooking stuff without using expensive things that might be hard to come by right now. On that note, something I did want to talk about, kind of off and on. I've been rolling this around in my head for a few weeks, and I've really gone back and forth whether this is worth talking about or not. We don't really like to touch on current events very much. I think everybody knows what's going on in the world, and our goal is to just share our family life and what we're doing and the good and the positive. And we don't want to be more noise in an already noisy and chaotic world. But Ben and I were talking about this morning, how we're seeing a lot of sharing of things that are almost like fear-based and making, like, preparing your home and getting your home in order in an almost like terrifying manner. And I don't like that. So I kind of just wanted to talk about, instead of the idea of buying in bulk and prepping and like that side of it, those are all very wise ideas and those are very good, important things. But I think it's also important to be running your kitchen in a frugal and prudent manner, and just your household in general. But I'm going to talk about the kitchen today because that's my domain and that's where I dwell. Just running your kitchen in a prudent and frugal manner is almost more important than stockpiling a whole bunch of food that you may or may not know how to cook or take care of, or, you know, in the long run don't know how to use wisely. So, I mean, eventually all that stuff kind of like goes away once you use it, right? So, because I'm in the kitchen today doing various things, I was just thinking about some of the ways that I try to run my home as efficiently and frugally and prudently as possible, and I would share those things with you in case you needed some ideas for various things. So, like, for one, I'm going to be using these bacon scraps, which would otherwise go to the chickens or maybe in the trash. that's going to get rendered down into grease so I can replace store-bought cooking fats. Now, I realize not everybody is raising their own pigs, so also keep in mind that this is something you can do with bacon you've bought from the store, or chicken fat. If you're cooking a chicken, you can, you know, scrape the fat off of that, off of your drippings, those kinds of things. So there are ways to go about saving and using what you have. One of the sayings that I was raised with when I was a kid, and I think a lot of people know this, is use it up, wear it out, make do, or do without. And that's kind of how I've tried to run my life and my household. I think it's a very wise way to live. And also, you know, all of them, penny saved is a penny earned, everything, all those old-timey sayings are very true, and they've come around for a reason. And I think we're going back into a time where those are going to be a little more accepted than in the very commercial, buy everything, instant gratification age that we've been in. So I'm going to keep working, and I'll just chat randomly as I think of things while I'm getting stuff done. I think one of the best examples of the point I want to make next is my muffin recipe, because I've experimented so much with this in the past, I don't know, 5 months, particularly over the winter when we had no eggs. There's a lot of recipes that you can either substitute things or completely cut out things, or just like scale back a lot of the ingredients. For example, I can use 2 eggs instead of 4 if I was running low on eggs. So this recipe calls for 2 cups of sugar. I've been scaling back a little bit to about 1.5 cups. I've gone down to 1 cup, but the natives are like, yeah, we don't love it. The recipe I have calls for 1 cup of oil, but I have actually scaled it back to 1/2 cup with no noticeable difference. They're still just as moist and tasty as before. I don't worry about milk because we have a cow, so I mean, it's on tap. But you could also, a lot of recipes you could actually just substitute water if you needed to instead of milk. So I think this is my favorite outcome out of my muffin experimentation, is the baking powder. So the recipe calls for 8 teaspoons, and I've experimented cutting it down to 5 actually, and I've still gotten the same results. Now, I think this would depend on the freshness of your baking powder and maybe even the brand, but I wanted to see if I could use less baking powder, still get the same rise and the same results, and I did. It's cut in almost half, and I've still gotten good muffins out of it, so that saves a ton. And with as many muffins as we eat, I'm making muffins all the time, we do go through a lot of baking powder, so that stretches it a little bit. This recipe calls for 3 cups of blueberries. That was probably like 1.5, which means I would basically get 2 batches out of 3 cups of blueberries. I've scaled back on chocolate chips and recipes, nuts, you know, all of that, with really the same results. Like, maybe it's not quite as chocolatey or not quite as blueberry-y, but it still tastes just as good. The flavor's there, and it stretches that bag of blueberries a little bit farther. The muffin cups are totally a guilty pleasure. I probably don't need to spend money on this, and if things were really, really tight or I couldn't find them, then obviously I wouldn't. But I am busy, and I do not want to sit and butter 48 muffin cups every time I make muffins, which is at least 2 or 3 times a week. And it's easier for people to just grab them and go this way, so I use the muffin cups. But if that were not an option, I'd be greasing 48 muffin cups every time. Moral of the muffin story: experiment with the recipes you have, see what you can get rid of, what you could substitute, what you could cut down on. For the most part, chances are whatever you try is still going to be edible and tasty in some way. Alrighty, for dinner tonight I am making a gumbo. Not my usual gumbo, but a leftovers gumbo. One of the things I've tried to learn to do is be better about using up leftovers. And I say that with the transparency and the admission that I have not been good at using up leftovers. When Ben and I first got married, they just died a slow, horrible death in the back of the fridge with mold and fuzz and gross things growing all over them because I didn't want to eat them. And I wasted so much food, and I hate that, but I mean, it is what it is. You don't know what you don't know, and you got to learn how to do things properly. So I've tried to be better about using leftovers, and I've gotten pretty good at it. And I don't necessarily mean just eating them reheated like we had for lunch, but actually like using them in different ways. It's like the quiche, for example. We reheated that for lunch. Nobody really ate it at lunch, so what I will probably do with that is like chop it up, add some potatoes, and wrap it up in a tortilla, and we'd have breakfast burritos. Super easy breakfast burritos. So tonight I have some roast chicken left over from the other night. I have some andouille that I cooked the other night, but I also have some brats. So that's where the gumbo kind of goes off the rails, but it is what it is. And then I've got some various peppers and veggies and stuff that I need to use up. And then I have drippings from roasting the chicken that I want to use. Somebody who I have gotten a lot of ideas and encouragement from as far as using up leftovers and using food wisely and stretching food as far as it can possibly go is Three Rivers Homestead on YouTube and on Instagram. I will put a link for her below. She's a really awesome resource as well as just a really sweet woman. I'm going to finish getting my veggies chopped up, and then I'm going to pick this chicken and then get the gumbo put together and assembled. I also have some leftover rice in the fridge from various meals we've had over the past week. So this is a good way to use that up too, because we'll serve it on the rice. One of the nice things too about using leftovers is a lot of the flavor is already built in. Like this, so much flavor here. I think everybody's already heard the 5,000,001 things you can do with a roasted chicken, so I'm not going to reiterate that. And a lot of the times, like, I don't have much of a roasted chicken left because, you know, we eat a lot of it in one meal. But I will say, there are lots of places on a chicken that there is meat hidden that you would not think. So, pick that chicken carcass, and you will wind up getting a lot more chicken than you thought you had. So the carcasses, I can boil those down and get some good broth out of them. Again, with the flavor, I would throw the skin in there too. What? Here, you want a piece of chicken? Chicken. And then I can use that again for another soup. Or I like to cook my rice in it. It adds a lot of flavor to the rice. I use it for gravy, for, I mean, anything really. Good?
Good.
Good.
Under.
Onions, yeah, that's right. Alright, I'm gonna let that come to a simmer, and it'll simmer for a little bit. Just get heated through and thickened up. Everything's cooked already because I got it out of the fridge. It's leftovers. So, super easy dinner. We'll eat it on rice. Easy to go. The general idea right now is to grow a garden, grow as much of your own food as you can, preserve as much of your own food as you can, buy as much food as you can, and to an extent, those are all very wise and good things. Like I said, I mean, you guys know that that's the journey we're on. We're trying to grow as much of our food as we can for many reasons, not just current events, but just for health and for this is the way we want to raise our kids and all that kind of stuff. But not everybody can do that. Not everybody's in the same position we are, and I think it really does go beyond just growing it, preserving it, or storing it. It's how you use it too. That's what's important. And it's also important to be a good steward of what you've grown or what you've bought. And like I said, to use those resources to the best of your ability and to not be fearful or freaked out about things that are going on, but just saying, hey, you know what? This is how life is right now. This is what we're being handed, whatever the circumstances may be, and to just do your best. If you are able to get in the habit of living like this, being prudent and frugal and good with your resources and what you have in the plenty times, then it makes it a lot easier in the lean times to do the same thing. We have had both during our marriage, many plenty times and many lean times, and those lean times haven't been too hard because I didn't have to change much of how we were running our house and, you know, eating. We just went on doing what we were doing anyways. So I'm gonna get this to simmering and then we will eat dinner. I feel like I haven't seen you all day.
I feel like I haven't seen you all day. I've been down there in the cave.
Yeah. How's your part coming?
I'm almost done.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna go down there now that we're done with dinner. But now I'm really full.
Now you're really. Oh, I feel like this is a theme lately. I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick.
Uh-oh. We're trying to do stuff and you're yelling and trying to destroy everything.
So I talked about like our kitchen and how we use our resources to the best of our ability. Do you have any other like pearls of wisdom? Like for example, you mill a lot of our lumber, and we use that.
Stuff like that. You guys who watch know what I like to do.
Yeah.
The chicken tractors, they're all made out of just junk.
Yep.
The only thing that I paid for on them was the roof and the hardware cloth.
Yeah.
Like that's how I like to build everything. Figure out a way to make it cheaper. Use common sense.
Use what could be somebody else's trash.
Yeah.
That's still usable.
Trash to treasure has always been something that I've loved doing.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff I do is, it's not because I'm a tightwad.
Right.
It's because it just makes sense. It's like, this isn't going to cost me anything if I can use, you know, a broken whatever or
Right.
piece this together. If you're any kind of like resourceful and you're good at problem solving.
Yeah. Think outside the box.
Think outside the box. There's the mobile coop I made.
Right.
And I was sitting there, I was going to make it, you know, yay big. And it was like, man, that's going to take so much hardware cloth. And then I actually started looking at it and it was like, chickens are only, you know, this tall.
Yeah.
If I take a 3-foot roll of hardware cloth and cut it in half,
Then we've made everything we need with half the hardware cloth.
it's a ham.
It's a
yes.
ham.
So it's just little things like that. It's like, do I need a 4-foot tall chicken tractor or chicken coop?
Right.
No, I don't. Like I can use half the hardware cloth and make it only 18 inches.
Right. Stretch it.
And still have plenty of room for the chickens.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
They don't mind. Well, and like the log belly you just made yesterday. I mean, that was bits and pieces of, I mean, an axle and random things. And
Yep.
I mean, it's just being resourceful with what you had. I think, like you said earlier, it's not being a tightwad. There's definitely a stigma in our culture right now as far as tying price to worth. And I don't think that's valid. I think it's definitely worth, like I said, using your resources to the best of your ability. I think that's also being a good steward of the earth when you can use somebody else's trash to make something that works for you.
We're all about giving stuff a second life.
We are.
Second chances around here.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? All that to say, I hope you guys gleaned some good information and we could give you some positivity in what may be a chaotic and stressful time right now. Are you giving kisses? Oh, you're sweet. All right, that's it for the night. We will catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.